Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me is my partner in crime, Marc Souza. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man.
Good. We got some things to talk about in the world of basketball. We're going to go over some games that have happened the last couple of days. And we'll also talk about Jimmy Butler and the sitting out. Is it him? Lack of trade? Is he sitting out for that reason, or is he sitting out because his body is hurting like he says? We'll get on that later. Also, Kevin Durant looking for a lot of money in free agency. We'll get on that later. But first, we'll talk about some key games that have happened, most notably the Timberwolves. Derrick Rose had a 50-point game, his career high, yesterday in the win over the Utah Jazz by a score of 128-125. Derrick Rose had a start in this game because he basically replaced Jimmy Butler in the lineup and had the 50 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists game, went 19-31 from the field, and a couple of steals to his name. So he had his career high in points. Karl Anthony Towns did have a great game himself, 28 points, 16 rebounds. So everyone really contributed in this game, but Derrick Rose is the main topic to talk about in this game. And this is pretty historic for him. He was emotional after the game, cried, and you can see. Well, I think I can feel that because he's been going through some very tough times ever since he tore his ACL after his MVP season. And the fact of the matter is, he's been really underutilized and not looked at as well after that injury. So having him have a game like this, I feel like that's good for him.
Yeah, it's big time. I mean, we all know about his trials and tribulations. Former NBA MVP has a major knee injury. It's been years. I don't even think he's close to what he was back when he was in MVP form, but it was awesome to see. It was awesome to see as well the amount of support from players across the league. Saw Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul on Twitter congratulate Derrick Rose. They talked about, his ups and downs and how inspirational it was to see him have a night like that. I mean, obviously you could tell with how emotional Derrick Rose was. I mean, fighting back tears. His teammates were super stoked for him too. They showered him in the locker room, of course. So it was a great night. A great night for Derrick Rose, great night for his family. Great night for the Timberwolves. A big win over to Utah, a very tough team. A team that's known to be a very good defensive team. Now, 50 points against the Utah Jazz is very impressive. It wasn't like he went out there and did this against the Atlanta Hawks or the Kings or someone like that. Like, he did this against a good team, a playoff team in the Western Conference, led defensively by Rudy Gobert. I mean, the Jazz are known for being a stout defensive team. So, a great night for Derrick Rose. Very impressed. Is this a sign of things to come for Derrick Rose, or was this just a one-off?
I don't know yet. It's too tough. It's too tough to tell right off the bat after a game like that. We got to see how he responds in his next game, and then we can tell if what's happening is a resurgence of Derrick Rose, or was it just a blip on the radar of his career. We will find out definitely, but the fact of the matter is we have to wait until the next game to see how he does, though.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, he's not the focal point of that team. Like you mentioned before, Jimmy Butler missed the game due to rest, so when Jimmy Butler gets back, and we don't even know if Jimmy Butler will be on this team long, as there are the rumors circulating about him being traded at some point. So could be any day. I don't know what that would look like in return for the Timberwolves if that were to happen. If Jimmy Butler was traded, it sounds like whatever trade that would be made, they wouldn't be getting a player of that caliber back. So maybe Derrick Rose would have to step up and start, or at least be one of the main contributors instead of just a supporting actor in this whole Minnesota gig. So we will see. We will see what turns out. I hope Derrick Rose can continue to play well. I think I obviously don't expect him to have 50-point games and like whatnot, but it would be nice if this game could springboard him into having more solid outings, more contributions, whether it's in the starting lineup or on the bench. So as the NBA community is supporting him, I am also really rooting for the guy, because we know it's been quite some time. It feels like it's been forever since he won that MVP and since he was on top of the basketball world. So congrats to him. And what are your thoughts, Jeff?
I agree with you. It's a pretty great moment for him, and the certain aspects of him going through pretty hard times after his injury and coming back and playing this well for this one game. Even if it's just this one-time thing, it's a pretty great moment for him, and just a highlight to the season, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So 128, 125. They needed every single one of his points to get that win, basically. So Minnesota improves to 4-4. The Jazz will fall to 4-3. So we will see how this kind of springboards both teams. If Minnesota can now turn this game into a positive step. But again, there's that cloud looming over the franchise about, will Jimmy Butler be traded? When? I'm assuming he will be. When is the operative word? So
some say it will happen before Thanksgiving.
So he didn't play last night. Butler did not play last night, and there was speculation that, because he was about to be traded, but he said, and the team said it was, due to rest, like it was just a normal thing.
Jimmy Butler was quoted in saying it was because my body is hurting, not because of the trade,
right?
Not because of lack of trading.
Right. So
I'm still surprised if you're offered 4 first-round draft picks for a guy, wouldn't you take that?
Yeah, if I knew he wasn't going to re-sign. So, yeah, I would.
So I don't know why they didn't take it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's still on the table or not. It probably isn't.
I don't know if they're waiting for another team maybe to come through with 3 or 4 first-round picks plus a player or something like that. We'll see. But do you know who the Timberwolves play next?
I believe you do, it sounds like.
They play the Golden State Warriors.
Ooh.
So it looks like Butler and Derrick Rose will be on the floor as the Timberwolves will face.
That game is tomorrow at 7:30 Pacific time.
Yep.
So it's a primetime slot,
mm-hmm.
if you want to say it like that.
Yeah, so it's a big game. It's a big game, I think, for this team. For this Timberwolves team. Again, it's transitional, but as we get closer to Jimmy Butler being traded, it does it makes you wonder what kind of mindset this team will be in going into that game. We all know it takes a lot to beat the Warriors. You have to be on your A game. Can't let up at all. So
I'm assuming Butler will play this game, though.
Yeah, he should be playing. I mean, he got the rest, so he gets another day off today. And then tomorrow, of course, they head to Golden State. So I fully expect him.
It does sound like you're saying Golden State's like a city, but it's just they're going to Oracle Arena.
Mm-hmm. Head to Golden State.
I've always been thrown off by I think everyone, I've said this before, but just Golden State always was like, oh, what, that's a city? Do you think, let me ask you this, when they move to their new arena in San Francisco, do you think they'll change the name of the San Francisco Warriors?
Probably not, because they've been so successful recently with the Golden State name. If they hadn't had this run of success, I think they would have, but now it's kind of like that that's more of a brand name now.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, if they never won those championships, they never got Steph Curry, then I could totally see it happening, but we'll see. We'll see.
We'll talk about his teammate Kevin Durant later in the show. But
well, we could talk about the Warriors right now, actually, as we transition from the Timberwolves to the Warriors. We know that they're playing each other, but they also played last night on Halloween, of course.
Spooky.
131-121, the Warriors win. Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins looks like they got into a little bit of a heated exchange last night after the game. So, regardless, that's another story in itself. I don't know what was said between the two men, but Steph Curry had a big game, 37 points. The Warriors won their sixth straight. They improved to 8-1. They are atop the Western Conference, of course. Kevin Durant, 24 points, 5 boards, 8 assists. Draymond had 16, 14, and 8. Very close to a triple-double. Jerebko, 10 off the bench. Iguodala, 9 off the bench. Klay Thompson followed up his great performance the other night with 1 of 4 from 3. So, not the same night for him.
Not really at all.
But
the heck?
They didn't need him to do that. Yes, last night. So the Warriors.
Talk about a drop. Like, whoa.
The Warriors are on a roll, and they've won now 6 in a row. Now, of course, we know they play in the West. They have a tough schedule. But with this hot start this early, do you think that they have a chance to really go for the record this year?
You mean the wins record?
Mm-hmm. Like, they've lost one game, so.
What was it, 73-9 they got that one year?
Yeah, so
they have to be 74-8 at the worst to break that record.
Yeah, do you think they'll break their own record? 73. They'd have to win 74.
I'm gonna say no.
You got to lose 8.
I'm gonna say no. They already lost 1. So
I'm gonna say no because the injuries will happen, minor injuries and things like that. Plus, it's the West. It's the West. So, it's interesting, though, because they have started off very, very tough, very hot. So, we'll kind of see what they do. I think November will give us an idea. Like, if they go through November and lose one game or less, maybe they do. They play the Timberwolves, they play the Grizzlies, they play the Bucks, the Nets, the Clippers, the Hawks, the Rockets, the Mavericks, the Spurs, the Thunder, the Blazers, the Kings, the Magic, and the Raptors this month. There's a lot. There's a lot of winnable games there, though. I mean, yeah, there's like 5 or 6 tough games, but I'd say about 8 or 9 of those are wins. Easy. I mean, I said the Grizzlies, the Nets, the Clippers, the Hawks, the Mavericks.
Keep naming teams. Keep going.
The Thunder, not good. The Magic, Sacramento. That's 8 or 9 winnable, easy games for them. Easy games. There's some tough games in there. I mean, Bucks are tough. The Rockets could be tough if they can get out of this funk. They're not tough right now, but on November 15th, they might be a different looking team. The Spurs are tough. Portland. We'll see. The Raptors, of course, are tough. Yeah, but what the Warriors are doing, I mean, man, they're looking again. They're looking real strong once again. But it's going to be fun to see what the Timberwolves and the Warriors will do. See how Derrick Rose plays after that 50-point game. We'll see Jimmy Butler back in the starting lineup, assuming he doesn't get traded in the next 24 hours, which he could.
From how our show usually goes, something happens right after we go off the air.
That's true. So he could get traded in about 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's our luck, isn't it?
It's pretty much our luck.
As I'm driving home after work, after we do our podcast, I always get an update of something crazy happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of excruciating.
We haven't even seen DeMarcus play yet for this Warriors team, so I know we just talked about them breaking the record, but to think that they still have firepower that has not been unleashed, and they're 8-1, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of scary. So
it is spooky scary.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Did you see some of these NBA players with their Halloween costumes yesterday?
They were pretty good.
I really loved
Klay Thompson was Jackie Moon, which I loved.
I loved the Damian Lillard Stone Cold Steve Austin.
He nailed the walk.
The
he
strut.
had the title. He had the Smoking Skull WWE Championship belt, which I love that thing. It's one of my favorite looking belts in wrestling.
Yeah, the outfit, obviously the mask is perfect. The walk, the character that he played though, the strut.
He nailed it.
It was awesome. What about Aaron Gordon playing Aaron Judge?
It was basically the same person.
That was funny. Props to Aaron Gordon for that one because he looks oddly similar. And they're, you know what's funny is they're about the same size, which is incredible.
Their face is the same too.
Very close. So that was cool to see those.
If they traded places, we would not be able to tell the difference.
I like it when athletes are inspired by Halloween. What about Lonzo Ball as Batman? That was cool.
Doesn't look like Batman.
Yeah, but he has a mask on, so, doesn't really matter.
But does he have the voice of Batman?
That was cool to see. But for me, Damian Lillard, Stone Cold Steve Austin, that is your winner.
Stone Cold.
But I think we need to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the games last night, NBA action. We'll break those down. We'll talk about the stats. We'll talk about the outlook for all the teams involved. And, of course, we'll look ahead at tonight's matchups, too. This weekend, some notable games. We'll dive into those later on in the show. In the last segment, we'll talk about some news out of Cleveland. One of the former champions, he wants out. We'll tell you who it is. We'll do that here in just a moment, but stay tuned. A lot to talk about in the NBA as we get into the third week of the season. We have some surprising teams so far. We have some teams that have been underperforming. So, which teams will get back on track? We'll talk about that right after this.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We just finished talking about Derrick Rose's 50-point night, as well as some other things in the news, as well as Halloween, ooh, spooky, and everyone wearing different costumes. Now we're going to the scores of last night's games, every single score. First things first, we got the Mavericks and the Lakers, Doncic versus LeBron, and it was a 1-point win for the Los Angeles Lakers as they win this game 114-113. LeBron James again has a great game, 29 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. JaVale McGee had a pretty good game himself with 16 points and 15 rebounds. Ball himself had 12 points and 7 assists. Ingram had 17 points in his own right, as well as Kuzuma having 18 points. So each guy contributed in this win. They did have a big lead going into the fourth quarter, and they almost blew it. And fortunately, they did not, and they held on to a 1-point victory. But would you say this is concerning for the Lakers?
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're at home. I get it. They're transitioning with some new players, but they're playing the Mavericks. The Mavericks have new players themselves, and
not as talented as LeBron too. So
to barely hold on against a team whose best player is probably a rookie is concerning. I mean, they almost blew a 13-point lead in the fourth quarter. They hold on, but man, can you imagine what the storyline would be today had they lost that game?
I feel like Luke Walton might be on the hot seat if that happened.
I think he already is on the hot seat. But
I meant like serious heat. Like someone needs to save this man.
Yeah, the Lakers bench was putrid last night. They didn't do much for the team. Lonzo Ball, he got the start over Rondo again, and he had 12, 4, and 7 in 33 minutes. Rondo had 5 and 3 assists in 17 minutes, so not sure who really played better. You could argue either way, but overall, the Lakers fortunate to get a win. They go to 3-5.
Needed win.
They go to 3-5, so they have some tough games coming up. But I am concerned if I'm a Lakers fan. I don't think that this roster was set up the best way possible, and by the early returns, I feel confident about that outlook heading into this season. It just doesn't seem like this is going to be a team that will be able to compete with the top teams in the West. But it is early. We'll see how this team gels from here on out.
Yes, absolutely. What's the other games on tap for last night?
Last night, we already talked about the Jazz, Timberwolves. We talked about the Warriors, Pelicans. We talked about the Lakers, Mavericks. The Nuggets winning in overtime last night. Again, a team winning by 1 point seems to be a theme. 108-107. They improved to 6-1, and the Bulls fall to 2-6. Millsap put back with 0.1 second left in the game. It gives the Nuggets a win. They continue their hot start. They continue to build on that resume as possibly being the second best team in the West. As of right now, they are. I mean, they have one loss. They're 6-1. So as of today, it's hard to say that there's a better team in the West other than the Warriors than Denver. Jokic, 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. This guy is a problem for the rest of the NBA. He is an awesome player, a lot of skills. You could see why people really liked his talent just a couple of years back. So look for him to be a real difference maker on a team that is very deep. They don't really have too many stars, but they play well together. They play a strong defense. And again, to get a road win against a struggling Bulls team is still nice. Wendell Carter Jr. had probably his breakout performance of the year so far for Chicago. The exciting rookie from Duke. He had a big game in a losing effort, but he had 25 points on 21 shots, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. So a very good game against a good defensive team. I like what I see from him so far. Impressive game for the young player. So, moving on, Jeff, what other games happened?
There was also another game that had a 1 point difference. So this is the third game. This 3 games had 1 point difference.
Mm-hmm.
With this game, it's the Brooklyn Nets versus the Detroit Pistons. 120-119 goes to the Nets. And it happened because of a Spencer Dinwiddie made a 3-point jump shot when they were down by, well, it was 117-120 to take that 1 point lead. And it basically sealed the win for them. And it was a great performance. Drummond had 23 rebounds that game.
Mm-hmm.
24 points, 23 rebounds. That's insane.
Yep, that's a big game.
That's a big game for him. And then Blake Griffin had 25 points himself with 9 rebounds. And that was the most points out of anyone that game. Dinwiddie also had 25 points because of his multiple clutch shots in this game in overtime and in regulation. So this game was close, no doubt about it. This game was down to the wire multiple times. And it really shows that the Nets can handle themselves. They move up they improved to 3-5. But they beat a very, very talented Pistons team. So maybe they're a dark horse when it comes to a playoff spot, maybe 8th seed. It's a possibility.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm not too keen on them making the playoffs, but in the East, anyone can do it. So maybe it's them. Who knows? Yeah. So moving on, we had 2 other games on the slate. I'm actually going to talk about the biggest blowout of last night. The San Antonio Spurs. They defeat the Phoenix Suns 120-90. The Spurs improved to 5-2, a really good start for them as they have seen a lot of change in personnel. Tony Parker is now gone, of course. Manu Ginobili is now retired. Kawhi Leonard is in Toronto. And, of course, DeJounte Murray is injured, out for the season. But DeMar DeRozan has played very well for them. He has fit in seamlessly. He had 25 points last night on 12 shots, 10 of 12, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He's becoming the scorer that they need. I don't know if he's necessarily as good of a two-way player as Kawhi Leonard was, but at least he's providing this team with offensive firepower as they were lacking a little bit. The Suns, on the other hand, this game was never close. They went down big early in this game. At halftime, it was 60-39, and it didn't get better from there. So Phoenix has a tough time. They go to 1-6.
You know who's really been like a disappointing? DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
13
kinda.
points, 8 rebounds doesn't sound like the first overall pick numbers. To me, at least.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Suns in general just struggled really hard last night. I don't think.
Well, he's been playing like this for a good bit now.
I mean, I think he's been fine. I mean, he hasn't been Luka Doncic good, but he's averaging 17 and 10. I mean, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah, granted, but I know I expected a lot more from him. Maybe I'm over.
I mean, yeah, he had a bad game, I'd say. I mean, he was underwhelming, but again, I look at it as just a terrible game for the team. They scored 90 total points. They lose by 30. I mean, and let's be honest, the Spurs are a good team, but this isn't the old Spurs that we're talking about here. So losing to 30 at home against the Spurs is concerning. But I like what the Suns, I like the roster that they have. I know that there's some growing pains right now, but I still feel like they're better than what their record shows at 1-6. It's still early. But they got some young talent. They have some veterans in Ariza, especially, that I really like. So we'll see how it goes from there. There's one last game on the slate. Do you want to talk about that?
The last game on the slate.
Yeah, the Knicks.
Well, I was going to say that, yes. The Pacers beat the Knicks 107-101. And with it was a good game for Victor Oladipo, who had 24 points, 6 rebounds. And everyone else kind of just had... I almost forgot. Sabonis on the bench for Indiana, 30 points, 9 rebounds.
Yeah, he didn't miss a shot.
That was off the bench. 12 for 12 off, and not 1-3 though, too, which is shocking to think about. Based off just how we talked about how, well, he actually didn't miss one shot. It was a free throw, so he technically should have 31 points.
That's probably the best stat line I've ever seen. 30 points
12.
on 12 shots in 21 minutes, 9 rebounds.
He is a power forward.
39 and 3 in 21 minutes and didn't miss a shot. That is like incredible.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it, but also Tim Hardaway even though the Knicks lost, Tim Hardaway Jr. with 37 points. He only did have 1 assist though, which puts me at a kind of a where you hogging the ball more than you should have maybe passed it more. You did have 37 points, granted, but I know 1 assist just puts a really and as a small forward, you only get 1 rebound. I mean,
well, if his teammates aren't making shots either, then it's hard to get assists.
Yeah, but I mean, 37 points, great, but sometimes just like other stats are important too. That's just all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, 2 guys with 30 or more points in this game is pretty darn good. Pretty low scoring for that kind of numbers, don't you think? For 2 guys that with 60 points, 67 points in between them.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of shows everyone else was kind of...
Yeah, you look at the other players, and there wasn't a whole lot of scoring other than those 2.
Yeah, everyone else was kind of struggling. Remember Rookie of the Year Tyreek Evans? He's now coming off the bench and only gets 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Like he's really dropped off after his rookie season.
Yeah, his injuries have piled up, so he's definitely not the same.
Mm.
He had that 25 and 5 rookie year.
Isn't there only like 4 rookies in NBA history with that?
I think less, but it was incredible. So yeah, he was rookie of the year, and injuries have taken their toll. His game is also a little bit limited too. He never really developed an outside shot, at least not a consistent one. So it is what it is. Why don't we take a break? When we come back, we'll talk about the games that are on tonight's slate in the NBA. We'll also talk about notable games this weekend as we do the podcast every Tuesday, Thursday. So we'll talk about games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, any ones that catch our eye. We'll dive into those and tell you what you should expect, what you should watch this weekend.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We just talked about all the games that happened yesterday, and now we're going to go on to the games that are going to happen in this coming weekend, and today, and tomorrow, and the next day, and certain times before Tuesday. One of the most notable games that's happening today is the undefeated Milwaukee Bucks versus the 5-2 Boston Celtics. The Celtics are 3-point favorites in this.
Not surprising. They're at home.
Yes, but it's just for an undefeated team. That's usually you don't see them as an underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be a good game, though. Giannis should be back in action after resting. So it'll be nice to see the Bucks against the Celtics. Celtics seem to be playing a little bit better. Seem to be getting a little bit more comfortable. So I'm excited about that. I think that'll be a good game. That's on TNT tonight.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And based off some stats, the last time they played each other in the regular season was April 28th, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And Middleton had 32 points that game. And Horford had 26 for Boston.
Interesting. It'll be nice to see what the Bucks do. We've seen how impressive they've been so far. But against Boston... In Boston, that'll be a tough game and probably be their biggest test to date. We saw that
besides Toronto.
Yeah, but there's no Kawhi in that game, so their biggest test to date for sure will be the Milwaukee Bucks at Boston tonight on TNT. There's another game tonight on TNT. Do you know who it is?
It's the Pelicans and Trailblazers.
It is,
which is not as attractive. No offense to those teams as the Bucks and Celtics.
Yeah, and the Pelicans...
they're on later. They're on the prime time.
Yeah, they're West Coast. So Pelicans are on a back-to-back as well. They just played the Warriors, so who knows?
Very good Western Conference teams, the Blazers, the Trailblazers, and the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Trailblazers the only team with, as their team name is 2 words?
Timberwolves is 1 word. Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
That's unique.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them.
So, those are the biggest games for tonight. There are other games tonight. The Kings are at Atlanta. The Kings are surprisingly 5-3 against
They're
the
on
Hawks.
a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah, the Hawks are on a 3-game losing streak. But these two teams are the fastest-paced teams in the NBA based on possessions per 48 minutes. These two teams tonight play at the fastest tempo.
Trae Young versus Marvin Bagley Jr.
So, hey, it might be an interesting game for the fact that we could see a high score. We could see maybe like a 130, 125
We can
type
see
game.
the Kings on a 5-game winning streak and then the end of civilization as we know it.
Yeah, that will be pretty crazy if they win again. They haven't won 4 games in a row since DeMarcus Cousins was on the team, of course.
When was the last time they had 5 straight wins?
I don't know. Thunder play at Charlotte tonight. The Hornets, they host the Thunder. Do you think we will see the Thunder get back on track and win this game, maybe start heading in the right direction? They're at 2-4 right now, so what do you think?
That's very hard to say. The Hornets are the 1.5 point favorites in this matchup. And with how the Thunder have been playing, they were on a very bad losing streak to start the season, and they've won these 2 games recently. But the fact of the matter is they need to pick up the pace quickly, or else they're going to be left in the bottom of the West.
Yeah, the Thunder and the Rockets need to start winning games. Mm-hmm. They need to start really, really securing the right direction here, because you don't want to have a tough 20, 25, 30 game start to the season. That could bury you.
The Thunder
West.
are on a back-to-back road or back-to-back games right now as they play the Wizards tomorrow and the Hornets today. So they're facing kind of weak Eastern Conference teams at the moment. So they have a chance to get back into a 500 record, and they need this. And the Rockets are also facing the Nets.
It'll be tough, though, because if they play the Wizards on a back-to-back, the Wizards are rested. Another team, though, that needs a win is the Wizards. That's 2 teams.
They are 1-6.
Yes, exactly. And that's a game that I think will be tough for the Thunder.
I didn't expect to have to say that. Like, the Thunder need to win, or also next thing you know, they'll be in the bottom of the West. Like, we didn't talk about that at the beginning of the season, but they are struggling. The Wizards are struggling. The Rockets are struggling. There's very unexpected teams on the top, and there's very unexpected teams at the bottom.
Yeah, I would say that the Thunder, it's tough to play back-to-back. So the Wizards game, I kind of just feel like they'll probably lose, but I think they really need a win today. They need a win against Charlotte, because if you lose today and you lose tomorrow, that deficit starts becoming like a burden. You know, it starts becoming like, hey, one game at a time we need to start like really winning games in bulk. We need to win 3.
When you dig yourself into the hole like that, you're making it more and more challenging to get out. You better make some stairs in that hole quickly, and they have to make these stairs against their opponents tonight against the Hornets.
Nuggets are at Cleveland, so the Nuggets are on a back-to-back.
But they are facing a relatively weak Cavaliers team that are falling apart without LeBron James. But I think that was expected.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Nuggets will look to win again.
Look, can I ask something?
Go ahead.
If the Cavaliers didn't win a championship with LeBron, do you think he would have stayed?
Yes.
Do you think he would have kept playing there until they won a championship?
Yeah, I do not think he would have left a second time without a title.
Mm-hmm. True. He's very lucky he came out with 1 championship after, 3 or 4 appearances in a row? Mm-hmm. Gets the same team?
Yeah, so we'll see.
Talk about the definition of insanity.
We'll see if he can make the finals again with a brand new team. It would be pretty crazy.
He hasn't missed the finals since 2010.
Tomorrow night as well, the Warriors.
Let's think about that. Can we think about that for a second?
It's pretty crazy, man.
LeBron, and he's only won 3 titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
3 and 4.
His teams have usually been the weaker team in the final, though.
Well, he's on the East, so it's not like his fault, I guess you can say.
Warriors and T-Wolves tomorrow night. We talked about that. Interesting game is Jimmy Butler. We're assuming won't get traded in the next 24 hours, but again, you just never know. Could be the curse of this podcast. Those are the two notable games for me tomorrow night are Thunder and Wizards and Warriors at T-Wolves for different reasons. I mean, the Thunder Wizards are talking about a battle between 2 disappointing teams. Well, how about Saturday? Have you checked checked the Saturday schedule. There's some interesting games there.
Yes, there are. For Saturday, we got the like we said, the Thunder I'm sorry, that is a Friday matchup. Thursday, we got the Celtics and Saturday, I am off today. Saturday, we have the Celtics and Pacers, which I think is going to actually a very good game in all intents purposes.
That's a good game.
We also got the Jazz and the Nuggets.
That's a really good game.
That's a really good game also. Pelicans and Spurs is also a competitive game. I would also put the Pistons and 76ers up there.
Yeah, there's some good games. There's even another one. Lakers and Blazers, I think, is a big game too.
Yeah, sure. We can go there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting games for different reasons. I mean, Lakers, Blazers might not get as much hype as Jazz Nuggets, but we know that Lakers.
Isn't that weird? Jazz Nuggets is like the most hype game.
Yeah, but we know that Lakers Blazers is important, especially
Absolutely.
the Lakers more so than the Blazers.
And then the Lakers on Sunday got to play the Raptors, so they have a pretty tough schedule ahead of them.
They do. So these games are very important. That's why if they would have lost last night, it would have been a bigger deal because of how tough their schedule is about to get. They play the Blazers and then the Raptors back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not easy for Western Conference teams. How about Sunday, the Kings and the Bucks? That's a battle between two winning teams.
Well, for now.
Well, they both will be winning teams on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. Regardless of how the Kings play, I'm just saying the fact of the matter is the Bucks are still the superior team. So I don't see that as a big matchup.
Yeah, I mean the only thing you wonder is the Bucks have to travel quite a bit. So, but they should be rested.
They should be fine.
They'll be going opposite ends. They're going from Boston to Sacramento. That's
a historical city to Sacramento.
Complete opposite end.
Yeah. So, any other games you want to talk about before we head to break?
Monday. So Monday, there's a couple big games too. Raptors at Utah.
Okay, I like that game too.
Celtics at Nuggets.
Ooh, I like that one too.
Pelicans at Thunder.
Yes.
So all these games will be happening before we
Celtics
come
and
back.
Nuggets and Jazz and Raptors are the two games I'm looking forward to the most. The Grizzlies are a surprising 4-2 right now. There are a lot of surprising teams that are winning right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If it was like the NFL and it was only like 16 weeks, could you imagine?
That would be something else.
Like right now, it would be like the best teams right now are like the Raptors and like obviously the Bucks and everything. But then like the Rockets would be out of the playoffs. The Thunder would be out of the playoffs.
Sacramento would be in.
Sacramento would be in the Jesus, oh my. So it's just funny to think about it like that. Think about it in that perspective. But yeah, like Monday. Well, Monday is like prime time for them. Monday is like where the biggest matchups happen. No, or Tuesday.
Saturday. Pelicans, Spurs, Lakers, Blazers, Jazz, Nuggets. It's pretty good.
Mm.
There's some good basketball, though.
What game are you watching the most? Looking forward to the most? I'm looking forward to the Jazz and Nuggets.
For this weekend?
Yeah.
I think tonight, Milwaukee-Boston, I think, is the best game.
I was just talking about for the weekend, but sure.
For the weekend, I am interested to see the Lakers and the Blazers.
Okay.
I am, because the Blazers are a good team, but it's a team the Lakers need to beat if they're going to be serious in the West. So will they show that they're ready to take the next step, or will they continue to struggle early on in the season? So we'll find out.
Yes, we will. And those are the games that are happening this weekend before Tuesday, which is our next show. So we will talk about those next time. But fact of the matter is, we have a very interesting couple of days ahead of us in the world of basketball.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about news and notes in the last segment around the NBA after this.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We just finished talking about the top games that are happening this weekend. Now we're moving on to other matters at hand, such as J.R. Smith wanting a trade out of Cleveland, just like everybody else apparently does.
Yeah, J.R. Smith, he has expressed his desire to be moved from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Very disgruntled. Not happy with his playing time. He was asked if he was hoping for a trade, and he said yes. So very forthcoming, which is I like that about athletes.
That's pretty straightforward, ain't it?
I like that. He didn't beat around the bush. He didn't say, "Oh, no, I love this place." He said, "Yeah, trade me." So the Cavs informed him that he'd be removed from the rotation and not be guaranteed playing time. So, with that said, he's making $14.7 million. He's 33 years old. He has yet to play more than 20 minutes in a game. He's averaging 2 points, 1 rebound. He has 2 years left on his contract. But I don't know who's trading for J.R. Smith in that $14 million contract. Do you?
I could not tell you. I don't think there's any way that's happening.
He seems like a player that will be involved in another trade to match salaries and then waived, and then have the choice of playing for whatever team he wants to on a minimum contract or something like that. That's what I would say is most likely for him. But Kyle Korver is apparently on the trade market for Cleveland. So what do you think about that? Kyle Korver, I think, adds some value because he can shoot a three.
I think he's going to be just fine. He's going to be traded, he's going to get offers. I really do think so.
He was a player that has also been informed that he will be not guaranteed playing time from here on out. So it's interesting for Cleveland as they are obviously transitioning. They're obviously going into full tank mode. I think now with Kevin Love's injury, it's time to part ways with some of these older vets. That roster has been pretty...
That was for LeBron. That roster was for LeBron. Let's get this.
And when you look at it, it looks like a cast of misfits there together. Korver, George Hill, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love. The only thing these players have in common is that they play for the Cavs, and they played with LeBron. So
well, they were there to help LeBron win a championship, but that didn't happen. Well, for some of them it did.
Yeah, so we'll see what kind of market there is out there. I'd be very, very surprised if there is at all a market. I actually think that if J.R. Smith is traded, there's a chance that Cleveland could actually give up a draft pick if they trade him because of the 2 years on his contract. They're basically begging somebody to take him off of their hands. I wonder if they'd have to throw in like a second-round pick. I wonder if a team like Sacramento would make that trade for a draft pick and then waive Smith and then let him go about his business because there's not many teams that have cap room. So
the Kings are out a draft pick for this.
It wouldn't be a first round pick for sure. The Cavs have
no way.
They're looking at a top 5 pick. So maybe a second rounder.
I really don't know who's going to take that contract. Obviously, it's going to be someone that is desperate for a player or is desperate for a draft pick. If he's attached with a draft pick, J.R. Smith, that is. So the fact of the matter is, any team. I don't know of any team that wanted to take up his contract or risk just because if they release him, they're losing that money also.
What did you think about Luka Doncic getting a LeBron James autographed jersey last night after their game with the Lakers.
His reaction was the best.
Yeah, Luka said, "I always wanted his jersey. It was something very special to me." That's really cool. I think that's really cool, and it's crazy to think about when you look at Luka Doncic. He's what, 19 years old now, 18 years old. I mean, LeBron James has been in the league for almost that amount of time, so he's basically been looking up to LeBron James since he was a small child, not just like a teenager or anything like that. So. Very cool, very cool. I like it when athletes swap jerseys like that, especially you could see a kid coming from Europe. Not only does he make it to the NBA, but he gets to play against a legendary player, somebody he grew up idolizing. So that's really cool. Did you happen to see the new Minnesota Timberwolves jerseys?
I did. They are tribute to Prince.
Yeah, Prince inspired. What do you think of them?
I think they're pretty cool.
They're very purple.
I feel like they're too pink. They feel like they're too pink compared to Prince. Prince is more of a darker purple than what they're using. That's why I think.
So it's like a black. Is it black jersey with the purple? Is that black or is that a dark blue? I can't really tell.
I'm pretty sure that's black.
It looks like it, but it looks like it doesn't look that dark. But it's obviously the purple is what we're talking about here because that's the accent color. That's what the Wolves.
Purple rain.
Yeah, that's what the Wolves and the numbers are in. Although it is kind of weird to see the name in white. Did you see that? Name?
I did. That was
the only thing on the jersey that's not purple or black. So that's interesting.
I think it's a nice little thing. Did you see the Nuggets new ones?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the back to old school. But back to the Wolves one. It's just a white outline of the numbers and the lettering and all that good stuff. So it makes sense. I understand why they're doing it. It's too pink for me. I think it should be a little more purple. But fact of the matter is, it's still a cool little tribute to him. I really do like the Nuggets new ones that are coming out that back to the rainbow look.
Yeah, those are cool.
I always loved the rainbow look. I always thought that was unique to them.
I think the Cavs should go back to the blue and orange.
I did like that. But I don't think they're going to go back to it. You know, when you win a championship, you keep those colors up forever.
Yeah, I see. The blue and orange just reminds me of.
I do like
Michael Jordan hit the shot over.
Yeah,
over Craig Euler.
I do like how all the teams are so unique with their jerseys. Like you can be so creative with it, and that's one of the reasons I like watching. Like I want to get like the new NBA 2Ks because I get to play with them. I just see the new jerseys that are out and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I know that's a stupid reason, but I like it.
No, that's fine.
Like the Magic. Have you seen the Magic's new city uniforms?
I have
just
not.
The Magic logo on it. I'm showing it in a picture right now. I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, I miss the old Magic where it was just stars stencils around it with like the Tracy McGrady era jerseys. Those are always one of my favorites.
Tracy McGrady. What a guy. What a player. So, what about Draymond Green? Did you hear about how he wants to win Defensive Player of the Year? He sounded pretty adamant. He said, I need that. I need that bad. Real bad. I made second team all defense last year. I'm pissed about that still. I'll be pissed.
You won multiple championships. Stop complaining.
I'll be pissed until I write that. So that's a serious goal of mine this year, and I'm on it.
Is his diamond shoes too tight also?
He won his first Defensive Player of the Year in 16-17. He prides himself as a defender.
He won it back in 16-17. There was basketball back then? So he's like 500 years old. Mm-hmm. That was funny.
No, it wasn't that good.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I think it was pretty
funny. Wah, wah, wah. But, anyways, what do you think about that? The Warriors, it seems like they really do have... It really seems like this is a season that they're not just like, okay, we can cruise. It does feel like they really want to set some records this year and do some amazing, incredible things.
Fact of the matter is, the Agers are just going to continue winning championships, and apparently that's not enough for Draymond. So that's why I had that bitter taste in my mouth about that. So, fact of the matter is, doesn't matter if you win Defensive Player of the Year, you're going to have a championship ring on your finger most likely.
So this summer, Draymond Green is eligible to sign a Supermax extension, 5 years, $235 million extension. That would start in 2020. Keep that in mind because the Warriors can only sign one more player to a max deal. So they have decisions to make on their future. But that, again, will be this summer. It'll be after the season. They do not have to do that now. But it is interesting to note that the Supermax contract, Draymond Green, 5 years, $235 million, he will be eligible. So, anything else you'd like to add in the world of basketball, Jeff Malinoff?
I think I'm good. What about you?
I am good to go. I think we are good to go. Check out those big games again tonight. Milwaukee, Boston, Pelicans, Blazers. Tomorrow night, Friday, Thunder, Wizards, Warriors, T-Wolves. Saturday, Pelicans, Spurs, Lakers, Blazers, Jazz, Nuggets. We have lots of good games coming up. Lots of action in the NBA as we are in week 3. I think we'll get more answers to a lot of these questions that we've been having this weekend. And then when we come back on Tuesday, we'll talk about these games. We'll talk about any new questions that have arisen since then. And, of course, we'll have more clarity on what to expect from the NBA teams from here on out.
Absolutely. And just like always, I'm Jeff Malinoff. That is Marc Souza. Thank you so much for joining us on the GSMC Basketball Podcast, and we will see you on Tuesday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.